Hi, I'm Tom Krause, and I want to tell you about some research that Kristen Bell and I have been working on over the last several years on safe decision making. This research is new in some ways, but it comes in the context of 30 years of work that Kristen and I have done, beginning with behavior-based safety. After that came the role of leadership and how leaders create a culture. And then serious injuries and fatalities. We did a series of studies on that. So what I'd like to do with this short video is show you a method that we have developed for understanding the role of safe decision making at all levels of the organization in the prevention of serious injuries and fatalities. We're calling this safe decision analysis, by which we mean a deep dive into the factors related to decision making that set the stage for the incident to occur. So I'll describe the method and then I'll show you an example of the method. So what we do is take a single case, a serious or fatal event. We review all of the documented data and we interview people and we look carefully at all of the information that we can get. We spend a couple of days on each event and we extract the decisions that were relevant to that event. And then we code them according to their time, when they occurred, what level the decision maker was who made the decision, whether or not there was bias that we could see, whether the decision was deliberate, meaning intentional and thought through, or omitted, meaning just overlooked, or automatic, meaning it just happened automatically, whether it was pivotal or not, pivotal meaning it affected other decisions. And then we put that together in a diagram. So I'll show you, here's the basic model. So it starts with the timeline and then goes to the level of employee making the decision and then the type of decision and whether or not it was pivotal. So let's take an example of how we use safe decision analysis to get a kind of a deep dive understanding of what really happened, what were the factors that led up to and set the stage for this incident to occur. This is an actual incident, and the end point was an amputation. This was an operator who was trying to clear a jam in a machine and put his hand in. So the end point, which is shown here by decision 13, is what I have just said. Prior to that, the operator had decided not to follow the lockout procedure or to call maintenance. So the operator at the end point of this event made two decisions: not to lock out, not to call maintenance, and to put his hand in to try to clear the jam. Prior to that, the operator made a decision not to report the missing guarding fasteners. And prior to that, it was determined that operators and maintenance employees had decided not to report missing fasteners multiple times. Now, in most investigations, that's about where the process would stop. We would understand that there was an amputation, that the worker was trying to clear a jam, that in the course of doing that, he put his hand in the machine. He did that without following the lockout procedure. We would say, why didn't this person follow the lockout procedure? I mean, we have that procedure for a reason and so on. And we would think if we could just get the worker to somehow follow that procedure, we would solve this problem. And that's about where it stops. Maybe we would say there are cultural factors that go into these kinds of things. Maybe this person doesn't realize how serious we are about safety. Maybe their supervisor isn't communicating to them as well as they should about what the value of safety is in the organization. But we would basically stop in most investigations at about that point. But if we begin to dig a little bit deeper going backwards in time, we see that manufacturing leadership had made a decision to accept the current state of the machines, which actually had a significant design issue. We see that supervisors had decided not to enforce inspections nor to identify fasteners. Within the same week that the incident occurred, we see that supervisors decided not to ensure that operators had performed those inspections. Within the same year, we see that the guarding fasteners had not been recognized or addressed as deficient. And in the same year, production leadership had accepted the fact that this manufacturing configuration was okay and ready to go. And years before that, the equipment manufacturer had decided that the guarding was suitable and sufficient. And prior to that, senior management had made a decision to select that equipment manufacturer. So what looks like the employee being the primary issue, cause of the accident, is actually a whole network of decisions which formed up essentially what's called normalization of deviance. And it's the same thing that happened in the Space Shuttle Columbia and in Deepwater Horizon and in various other, in Chernobyl, various kinds of serious events that follow the same pattern. There was knowledge in some part of the organization that there was a poor design, but that knowledge did not rise to the level where decisions that should have been made were made to address that situation. Rather, various people got used to doing it that way, found that there was a workaround. It became normal in the culture to do it that way. Operators knew it, supervisors knew it, other leaders had the opportunity to know it, and no one was injured, and this went on for a long period of time, even though that SIF precursor was there. What we would normally do when we see that kind of event is we'd recognize that the operator didn't follow the procedure. They failed to lock it out, and we would stop there. Or maybe we would go a couple of steps back. What about the frontline supervisor who was right there? But we wouldn't ordinarily see the complex network of decisions stretching back over time and across levels that actually is the thing that caused the incident. And our thinking is that this is a significant step forward in understanding how these things happen, that it puts us as leaders in a much stronger position in terms of recognizing the importance of the kinds of decisions that we make that have impact on preventing these kinds of events. Now, we have talked about one individual event. We can do a whole series of these events, and then we can study that longitudinally, meaning we can study across those events. And from that, we can gather information about the patterns that occur across those kinds of events. So one example is that pivotal decisions are made by site leadership about 70% of the time. That leadership above the site is involved at about 16% of the time. That the frontline worker and the frontline supervisor combined are involved in pivotal decisions only about 10% of the time. So the idea here isn't to find who's at blame, but to recognize where these important decisions are being made and how they interact with each other. So why is this information important to us? It gives leaders insight into how serious injuries and fatalities occur and what their role is, how they can be more effective as leaders in preventing serious injuries and fatalities. It illustrates the role of safe decision networks, not what an individual does, but the network of decisions that set the stage for and allow the incident to happen. And in doing so, it takes the emphasis off of the end point and puts the emphasis where it belongs on the system factors that need to be understood and changed in order to prevent those events from happening.